Hit the like button if you like this, and please do, because it really helps with pushing the video forward. The more likes we get, obviously, the more views we get, more views we get, the more likes we get, more likes we get, the more views we get,
Can I get some
and I think
likes?
it carries on until until we get given a massive bag of money. And this is what, 40, 50 years from now. I can hardly wait.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Andy, and that fellow over there is John. And if you don't know, we get together, we trade off songs. One of us goes off and reacts to the suggestion, and then we come back and we chop it up for a bit, sometimes quite a bit. And John, you are up to bat today
Not my fault.
as far as offering goes. What would you like me to go check out, my friend?
So the band is called Wand, WAND.
Okay. Okay. I've heard of this band, and I think I've seen things here and there, but I've always been like, I'll circle back to it. I think I saw them not, I don't know, everything's bleeding together. It's been like that since the pandemic, but I feel like I've seen them on they were on KEXP because I often go to that channel once a week or once every 2 weeks to see if there's been some new interesting stuff over there. And I definitely remember that name being on there. So, but I don't know any of their music, so
No, I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Anyway, I've got a track from them. It's called Blue Cloud. Um, and this is a live performance on KEXP.
then you're forcing my hand to go to give this a listen, which honestly isn't that much of a forcing because like I remember seeing some still shots because they do like 4 or 5 videos per session or whatever,
Yeah.
and their setup looked like it would be something that wouldn't be so alien to me. You know what I mean? It's like it looked like a guitar band. So cool. I will check this out. It's probably something I should have done before. And I guess this listen will prove that theory. So let me go off, give it a look, and a listen, and I'll come back and let you all know what I think. It's like wind or a blizzard. Right. All right, bass drum. I love this like assembly that they're doing. They're sort of like stacking things on top of each other. It started off with that really interesting, like whirring kind of like, it sounded to me, I think, I don't know if the mic picked it up, but it sounded to me like almost like witnessing a blizzard. Um, and then you get all these great bright guitar sounds that are kind of like supported by that chiminess of the keynote and this sort of circular bass motif. Interesting stuff happening on the drums where it starts off kind of hi-hat driven and then the bass drum kind of incessantly lets you know that it is there and present, and it's just building. It's all coming together and it sounds lovely so far. All these nice little touches. To say the way that this Fender and this Gibson SG are working together, and just the sound that they're sort of creating in tandem are so beautiful. There's this technical kind of soundness to their playing style, and it's also subdued at times, but then you start to feel it a lot during that portion there, where it was like sort of scratching or clawing its way towards this ceiling that you think it's going to bust through, but it never does, which is again excellent exhibition in restraint, I guess, because if they really wanted to, they could burst through this, but it's more tactful than that, I suppose. And that's probably good for a 9-minute song, because you don't want to like blow your load too early in the song, and you kind of want to milk that a little bit. So excellent job. I mean, this rhythm section's great. They all sound wonderful, but the way those guitars are sort of commingling together, at times working harmoniously together, and at other times you sort of get this sort of they're doing very different things, yet they still complement one another really well. And all of that takes a lot of technical savvy and tactfulness, which I think they've mastered to this point in the track. Be interesting to see where it goes from here, but I would also say that the drummer has a bit of that tact as well, to kind of give the rhythm section their flowers too. I mean, that sort of circular bass motif and these splashy kind of drums at times, while also having like some rolling motifs as well, is excellent, exhibition and talent on their part too. Not to make everything about the guitars to this point, but the sound quality and the pitch and the tone of a lot of the stuff is on the guitars is really beautiful. There's that circular bass. keys. Gentle touches. Great drums. My God. While things have calmed down here just for a moment, I think it was around the 520 mark or something like that. The arpeggio on the guitars, it sounded like it. I think it looked like it. That kind of like increased as the song progressed. It was like it sort of cascades over you as the listener, like a gentle waterfall might, or light through the cracks of a curtain on a sunny day, and it just provides this richness and almost like a tranquility to the sound. That was beautiful. I'd love to take that back and relive it. Like wind chimes. Where are we going here? This drummer is so good. A little fuzzed out. Bass, all right. Okay. Um, I love that. Earlier, I was talking about sort of this tactfulness and the way that the guitars were working together, um, this sort of harmonious way. In this, it's a little bit different. It's like one is pushing so that the other can pull. They aren't doing the same thing yet, working together, doing two different things make it work. You have these um, rigid, drawn within the line chords being played by your man here on the Gibson, while all this dissonance and sort of erratic musical behavior was being exhibited on the Fender. Those two things, those two worlds were not colliding. They were moving together. Um, and somehow it worked just as much as some of the earlier stuff that seemed so tactful um, and harmonious were doing. So interesting dynamics, gobs of that is on display in this song. The changes, the sort of the fervor versus what is subdued, the increase in volume and the falling back of things, dynamics and the playing with dynamics is on display here. Excellent example of that. I loved the portion where it kind of just everything cut down and you got these dials and knobs being manipulated, and the drummer sort of kicks a smile as he's like, he knows that the song is about to completely change into a portion that we have yet to hear. It's almost got this like that fuzzed bass and everything. It almost had this like classic Rocky kind of sound to it before it exploded into that excellent exhibition in sort of tandem guitar work that I just described. All accented by this lovely chiminess of the keys. Yeah, this is really lovely. And there's some jazzy elements to the way the drummer plays as well, which I always admire. So yeah, this is good shit. Even that jazz guitar, like ding ding ding. That's clever. Oh, bravo. Yeah, that was great. I think, but I sort of thought out loud. I was like, "Oh, that's clever." I like how it is a 9 minute and 10 second song or whatever, or 9 minutes. Let's say time for credits and all that jazz. But there there was a lot of like musical meandering going on throughout this from where we started and all throughout, and then to sort of like tie things up or imagine the world's oddest, trail. Like you start here and you go through all these loop de loops and roundabouts and to and fro, and then all of a sudden you end up right back where you started somehow, despite all the meandering. And that's what the song did. It took you back to sort of that beginning and that what we were sort of first introduced when the song took form. And I like how they brought us back there, sort of like this safe landing after a meandering, sometimes almost turbulent venture. You get back to where you started, um, and there's like a sense of like, I don't want to say relief, but almost like a familiarity to you end up after being shown all of these new and different things throughout the tune. I like that a lot. The music in this, the way it was assembled and performed was just terrific. It's a great performance, and I wish I had clicked on this link when I saw Wand on KEXP before. There's so many different bands on that channel that I haven't seen everything by everyone. So I'm glad that this, which flew under my radar or that I overlooked, um, John has given me, because this is a really, really good tune. Um, yeah, I'm interested to learn more about these folks, and the song, and I'm sure John will provide that as well. So let's get back to him.
Donovan Blitzen, he's back. So you've had a listen to Wand. What do you think?
Oh my stars and garters. Yes, this one thing I love about KEXP is, for the like, usually you can tell. I don't know if they allow for this in sort of the production, or it's just natural as they go through playing the different tracks. But this one sort of had that vibe of like the first song, where like this, you get all this, like, there's no click, like one, two, three, and poof, here we go. There's all this like ambient sound kind of happening, and maybe it's indicative of the band and their style, which is a style that I fucking love. This sort of like slowly assembling stuff and letting like ambient sounds be like the canvas on which you paint as you start to like assemble everything. So it's the beginning has almost this like that sound, and it rings true to me, because every night I have this weird thing where I need sound where I sleep. I think a lot of people are like that. And so I'll put on like the sound of like a blizzard and just listen to the whirring of wind and stuff like that, and it lulls me to sleep. Thunderstorms do that for people too, and rain and such. So there was this sort of sound of like this, like a blizzard happening outside, this whirring that was going on. And then they start to like build on it with this interesting, like, there's like a little bit of guitar makes the first appearance, then a little bit more guitar, and you've got like some drums, mostly hi-hat driven, but at one point the bass drum is really letting itself be known, and
Yeah.
this sort of circular bass line that's happening on that fucking gorgeous Rickenbacker that your man's playing. So the song is like really taking shape, and I love to watch it all happen. It's really cool when a song just comes in, boom, 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 and you know where you and everything's there. But I like this way, this longer, more methodical technique more, I think. Um, so shortly after the 1 minute marker, because that's how they're, as a 9 minute and 10 second song or whatever, they're like really taking their time with this. So after about a minute or a little bit more than that, there's one guitar, and then the keys have this little bit of like playful interaction with it, which at times sounds almost like they're kind of like mocking each other or playing, because at times they'll hit at the same time, and then one will hit just before the other, and it's kind of just this playful interaction between the instruments, and I loved that. It was I don't know, a slightly unconventional, because usually everything hits at once. And the vocals begin at 135, and they're soft and almost like wholesome sounding in their tone and delivery. And as the song progresses, so does my appreciation for this tandem guitar work throughout it. Like the way that this Gibson SG is playing with this Fender, I don't know if it's a Jaguar or a Jazzmaster, it's got that body type that they both sort of share, but the sounds that are coming out of both of them and what they're playing at different times are either like, and I'll get into this in further detail, but they're either incredibly harmonious and complementary to one another,
Yeah.
or they're somehow making things work while doing very different things, but still working for a greater good, which is an interesting, how they shift from that relationship between one another throughout the song is very interesting, and kind of flies in the face of like a lot of samishness you get from rock and roll, where everything's kind of like one note and the same. So I love that. I just love the dynamic and the relationship between the two guitar sounds throughout this whole song. Um, so it's like, to this point, the guitar work can mostly be described as like technically sound with like this delicate approach. But there are times where the guitars seem to be approaching and possibly clawing at this ceiling, almost flirting with busting free from those descriptions, while tactfully avoiding throwing all they've built with like some over the top cacophony. They stay just restrained enough, which is good, because you don't want to. I mean, this is probably 3 minutes ish into the song. You don't want to blow your load that early into a 9 minute
Yeah.
song. You know what I mean? You want to build towards something. So we get more of this circular bass riffing around the 345 mark, which almost resets or centers the song again. It's kind of like the bass brings everything back into focus. And we hear the guitars firmly step forward to just own the song at this point. They play off of each other, creating this beautiful sound, while the rhythm section employs a jazz like approach to the sound dynamics, increasing and decreasing in volume, like waves ebbing and flowing from and to the shores of the song. and all of this is accented by more of that chime like tinkling on the keys that she peppers in from time to time, which is really bright and pretty. And that there we get to this juncture where there's these tandem arpeggios by both guitars that sort of cascade over the ear starting around the 5/22 marker, and they're just gorgeous. It's like stepping beneath a gently falling waterfall and feeling the water run down you. And I just loved that so much. And after some time and some skilled but subdued drum work, the guitars vacate the soundscape, leaving only the hi-hats carrying the beat. Cue some knob and dial manipulation, a wry knowing smile from the drummer. Paul
Yeah.
muted. Paul, yeah, like, yeah, I got this, man. Don't worry, I'm not gonna fuck this up. I got this. He's like, this is my time to shine. Paul muted guitar plucking, and then the song shifts into this completely different motif. Almost classic rock sounding in nature, the bass and drums lay the foundation for this like equally odd and interesting, choppy and dissonant guitar work by the Fender.
Yeah.
All while the Gibson SG does its best to keep the whole thing on track with its straight rhythmic chord progression. So this is sort of the other end of that spectrum that I alluded to earlier when I started to really take note of the guitars. Earlier, they're doing all this stuff with each other in mind, or seemingly right. Whereas this is like, oh, you're going to do that and try to pull us off course. Well, I'm going to do this to keep everything together. And because of that, it's like the yin to the yang rather than these two things working together. It's like two polar opposites working to keep a whole balanced. You know what I mean? So it's just I really loved that. It was very, very cool and technically kind of savvy to show how two guitars can do these two different things together in one song. And just when you think they're going to tear some like musical rift in the space-time continuum, they are hushed before quickly shifting to those bright jazz guitar chords supported by more of that light jazzy drum work. And by the way, like the guitars, I love them. They're to me the probably the technically the most interesting part of the song. But this drummer's fucking awesome. I mean, he's so good. He's not over the top when so many drummers can fall victim to just wanting to like lay into some shit. He's so light. You see him employing so much jazz technique and skilled technique. Like to me, this guy, I don't know his backstory, but he doesn't seem like he's self-taught. So many of the self-taught guys, no matter how talented they are, lean into that animal kind of, tactic. There wasn't any of that here. There was all edges were polished and smooth, splashy cymbals, judicious, non-rambunctious rolling toms that don't like take away from any of the sounds. Really, really good shit. You get more chime-like keystrokes from the lady on the keyboard who does a wonderful job. That circular bass riffing from the beginning of the song, we're sort of back there. And we're treated to one more brief verse, and then the tune comes to the end. So what I loved about how they tied a bow on this thing was you get this long, looping, roundabout, meandering trail where you encounter all these weird different things, and yet somehow you end up right back where you started at by the 9 minute marker or whatever it was, 8:50.
Yeah.
I think it ends at about 9 when you take the credit time out of all the bullshit. But yeah, it's cool how there is this like turbulent trail that somehow leads you back to where you started because for a while you think you're never seeing that light again. So yeah, this was beautiful. We talk about dynamics a lot, and dynamics can apply to a lot of different things, but this was just saturated in dynamics, the dynamics between two different styles of guitar work, the dynamics between different styles of rock and roll and music in general, the dynamics of sound, volume, the hushed sounds, cacophonies, all of this different stuff all packaged up into this 9 minute tune. And it was it was a great ride, man. I really loved it, and it was a great performance, like watching the guitars do what they do, watching that drummer do what he does. When the bass work really shines, when that sort of classic rock motif thing comes in towards the latter fifth of the song or whatever it was, that was great shit. Her interaction with the one guitar on the keys while also adding brightness, like all these shimmers of brightness throughout the song, no matter what the rest of it sounded like, was really great too. Like I described it as a trail. Imagine piercings of light coming through the canopy of the forest on which this trail is paved. That was the keyboard in this song. So yeah, really good shit, man. I enjoyed this a lot, and I'd love to hear more of their stuff and learn more about this band that I unfortunately overlooked months or a year ago or whatever when I was scouring KEXP for new stuff.
Okay, okay, cool, excellent, excellent. So, just before we get into it, now this is really interesting. Um, I discovered this band because of you, because of the stuff you started sort of, and I was like going to the vault and checking. Oh, I've already got that. So I did a dive about a year and a bit ago to all this stuff that I downloaded over the past 15 years or more. And there was one said Wand. I thought, I wonder why. I don't even know who they are. Well then, listen to this album just over a year ago. Absolutely fucking loved it. This is not the strongest song off the album by a long way.
Right. So
But
I'm
it's
I'm
just a
hoping that whatever that is, you're saving it for me because I kind of want to listen to these guys. But if you've got
sure,
future plans, I will curb my
yeah,
enthusiasm.
yeah. But I just saw this performance is really good, so I thought, and this actually is better than the album version,
Yeah.
in different ways, but it just is, you know. So yeah, and all you said, and the thing is, when you dive into this band, this album is even more remarkable. But I'll get into that in a sec. But the things you mentioned, dynamics particularly, but the construction and the texture they managed to put in as well is just really accomplished. And they've they put their own music through a couple of different sort of influences, stroke, minces, as it were. And one of the chief bands they clearly have listened to and taken homage to is Radiohead. But there's some others as well. But yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it because, well, for various reasons. But anyway, so they were formed in Los Angeles in 2013, and they're known as psychedelic rock, garage rock, noise rock, shoegazing, and stoner rock. Um, they came with this initial burst, um, 3 albums in 2 years. Ganglion Reef in 2014, Gollum 2015, and 1,000 Days 2015. Then they took a break for a couple of years and then came back with this album, which is called Plum. I don't know why. It's Blue Cloud is the cover, but it's called Plum. And since they've done another album, Laughing Matter 2019. Um, so they had a little bit, they were a 3-piece at one point. They had other people join, some going off on a baby. So for this album and this track and who you saw performing, Corey Hansen, he's the main guy, and he was a songwriter for the first 3 albums, his vocals and guitar. Robert Cody, guitar. Sophia Agreguin, Moog synth, piano, percussion, vocals. She only appears really on this album, and she's now left the band, and she joined just for this. Lee Landy, sorry, bass, and Evan Burrows, drums and percussion. And I will just say, when you first see the drummer, he looks like about 6 stone soaking wet. There's nothing to him. You think, is he going to be able to hit that? But of course he can, he's excellent. And he does have that cheeky little grin as well. He's a little bit of sort of schoolboy in him, and I've just come straight from band camp, and, which I really like. So the development and the sound of this band is really remarkable. So the first few albums in particular are this sort of noise garage rock, very similar to Ty Segall. And actually the first album came out on his record label, God question mark, which is part of the sort of Drag City imprint. And then they moved and the later stuff was done through them. So part of the development must have been that Corey Hansen went off and he's done 3 solo albums, and he started like flexing his musical muscle and going away from just this, because the noise rock, the stuff they did, it's all fuzzed out and screechy and really aggressive, is nice, yeah, but it didn't stand out from anything else. It just, there's 1,001 bands that sound exactly the same. But he went off into solo albums. He's done a sort of country folk rock solo album as well. But when they got together and they brought in a couple extra people for this album, they also shared out all of the songwriting duties. I think that's really expanded the sound as well. and it really is such a shift from their previous stuff to this. So there's a really interesting review from AllMusic. There's a guy called Tim Sendra. Um, he's a fan of their first three albums. You'll get the
Mm.
idea, and you get the idea of the shift. He writes, so Swan shifted from the band politics from dictatorship to democracy. Interesting point of view. In the past, Corey Hansen has brought songs in and the other guys fill them in. Now the band members work songs out together in the rehearsal space. It's rare for a band to go from one person making all the calls to spreading the work around without it causing a major decline in quality.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting take. Sometimes a ship needs a captain to keep on course. Sadly, as Plum proves, this is definitely the case of Wand. The band's new approach charts them away from intense guitar workouts that verged on heavy metal and stickily claustrophobic psych pop towards a more traditional indie rock sound. He's not a fan of this. Um, Mostly, though, there's either something important missing, energy, wildness, drama, or something unnecessary added, fancy keyboards, a sense of restraint. Um, that's a negative for him.
Yeah, he really listed a sense of restraint as like a pejorative, like how dare
Yeah,
you? Yeah, oh my god.
exactly. It's impossible to listen to Plum without wondering why Hanson changed things so drastically when they were working so well. It sounds less like a reinvention and more like a giant step down a path best left unexplored further. Maybe they can strip back to a trio, get their pedals back, and return to being a first-class psych band instead of a second-rate indie rock troubadours. And then right below this, there's a load of user reviews, from the people who read
Yeah.
visit AllMusic. The first one says, I nearly didn't buy this CD based on the AllMusic review, but I'm glad I did. The music is ingenious and explores elements of many rock genres and frames it in Eno-esque strangeness. And there's one line after line from different people just saying, this album's brilliant. This album's brilliant. I'm guessing that they put Tim Sendra back in his box after that because he's
Yeah.
the only one who thought this way. So a few more just reviews, just to get you an idea of the flavor and what the sort of splash it caused. So, Paste Magazine on Plum, Wand has exceeded all expectations. It runs like a playlist of rock and roll offshoots with experimentations in Led Zepp riffage and spoon-like piano rock, only the tip of the iceberg. Plum is a multi-hued exposition, fertile in musical nuance and risk-taking, beautiful and scary, ugly and inspiring. These sentiments come to a head on the meandering, satisfying Blue Cloud, the image of which adorns the album's cover. The 8-minute epic is slow-blooming, balladesque killer that summarizes the shape-shifting moods of one's dazzling oeuvre. It will be interesting to see what directions the band surveys in future albums. For now, this is about as an interesting new rock record as you could hope to listen to. And the much maligned Pitchfork, I put their first line was, it's among the most exhilarating rock records you'll hear all year. The title track, Plum, leaves no room for uncertainty. The shift over staccato piano, Hanson sings with a newfound soul, belting blues of self-doubt over twin guitars that scrape and crawl like those of Thurston Moore and Lee Ronaldo. Something
Yeah.
Blue Cloud, a bittersweet song about the push and pull between being lost and found. Impossibly knotted guitars grind and growl, finally emerging in radiant consonance. Hanson and the band express what they come up with words. You keep going long enough, and just maybe it all works out. I could happily give you 5 other tracks of equally the same standard as this. Some of them have Ben's era Tom York vocal sort of melodies, the way he sings. It's not copies in any way, but there's obviously influence there. Others have this spoon, influence with that sort of piano bit and that rhythmic nature. There's almost a bit of McCartney-esque in some of that stuff. There's definitely some Led Zepp riffs in there as well, but it all blends really well. And they've thought about how they constructed all their songs, and it works. The opening track is a minute of kind of feedbacky stuff, and that is it. And then it goes. So I don't know why they did that. It's very funny, I guess, but anyway, this is the 9th track, and the cover does suggest it may be a significant song. I will say this though, and you mentioned it in your review, the album version sounds even more influenced by television um, than the live performance. So the Verlaine riffs at the start, you can get as soon as you mentioned, you mentioned his name, you can get it. But that sort of tinkling bit you mentioned about sort of rain coming down
Hmm.
in the album version, even more so. And it reminds me, if you can remember, Marquee Moon has that and then it breaks like a storm breaking, and it's very similar to that in the way it's done,
Okay.
and it just reminds me of it in a really good way, not in a oh Christ they've copied that way, but just a little tiny homage. And there's mentions of other bits of television in this, in references to them. So yeah, this does stretch out the dynamics, as you said, compared to the album version. Um, the 2023 KEPX performance with tracks from the following album after this has two or three really standout performances as well, plus new material, which is
Oh, nice.
new stuff. So I'll just go over the lyrics of this. Look in the blue cloud, spirit of the sky. No one's going to hurt you till the morning comes. Stand on a frozen language, terrified by light. Beauty will surround you. You'll be free at last. Without a map here, one becomes so lost. Tumbling through the darkness, hold on to yourself. Without a job to do, what is there to say? There's always a lovely searching for itself. And if you want to turn back the tide, pull on the curtain till it's time. If you fall down to earth, aim for the ocean, close your eyes, and then that instrumental break. And I do love the breakdown. And as you say, his grin is just doing the hi hat. And then she's twiddling the knobs and you're waiting for it. And then that note that bends in, that's obviously coming from the synth, but it does sound like a guitar. Bang.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the point where, yeah, I'm in with this. This is brilliant. And it comes back, as you say, without a map here, one becomes so lost. Tumbling through the darkness, hold on to yourself. Um, so Uncut Magazine said it's possible to detect the voyaging spirit of television in Blue Cloud from its terse, circling guitar intro to the elusive lyrical references to Torn Curtain, one of television's songs. One of the two songs that extend past the 7-minute mark, Blue Cloud is the perfect summation of what one do best, offering a variety of moods that manage to sound both distinctive and considered. This is psychedelia in its truest sense of the meaning, cultish, dark, invigorating, and endlessly curious, as opposed to the weary generic tropes of echo effects, backward guitars, and freakouts.
Hmm.
That's quite cool writing. And just as a final bit, because I will give you more from this album and others, I think.
Excellent.
The new album, Vertigo, by Want, will be released on the 26th of July, 2024.
Oh.
I've already pre-ordered it. And get this, that will be the fifth album that I pre-ordered this year. Sprint's English Teacher, Beth Gibbons, and Tindersticks, which comes out in September.
Oh, nice.
What a year to be alive.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
and me and kind of new music. I
I
mean,
was gonna
most people
say, look at you go, man.
wow. So yeah, this is one, and there'll be sort of more on them when we do other songs. But yeah,
No, this is
I
awesome. I really enjoyed the shit out of this, man. I loved it.
yeah, and I think there's a couple of there's an instrumental track which is outstanding. That yeah, there's another one which is yeah you will absolutely love, and there's some sort of almost like country tinge stuff which is really nice as well. And then there's one which is very Radiohead, but
Yeah. It
who's
reminds me
complaining?
a little bit of like a less masculine or muscular, less dark version of like Oh Brother, where like
Yeah,
sound
no,
dynamics
exactly,
and you know what I mean?
exactly.
So, but they're cut from a similar cloth. They just went a little bit in different directions with it. And it's okay, Tim. Like you can like both directions. It's all right, man. If they're good musicians doing good shit with music, but in different cast in different lights, enjoy the different aspects. It's okay.
Okay, so if you just imagine their second album, Gollum, was produced by the guy who worked with the OCs.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the sort of sound they had before this.
I get, yeah, already I can
It's
understand.
such a big difference.
Yeah.
And you imagine someone who's really into that going, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. Oh
Perhaps
my.
he should have recused himself, perhaps, and not done.
Yeah, he was too far deep in the forest to write an honest review, I think.
Yeah, I think so anyway.
Uh,
Right. Well, I shall wrap things up. Thanks for this, Andy. And
thank you.
hopefully this will hit a couple of winners with the views of the channel. Please let us know what you think. If you're familiar with Want and the past albums and all the good stuff they do, please let us know. Hit the like button if you like this, and please do, because it really helps with pushing the video forward. The more likes we get, obviously, the more views we get, more views we get, the more likes we get, the more likes we get, the more views we get.
Gotta get some
And I think
likes.
it carries on until until we get given a massive bag of money. And this is what, 40, 50 years from now. I can hardly wait. Please drop your comments, because we'd love to hear from you what you think about this and anything else. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. It really helps the channel, and we appreciate everybody who supports this channel as we grow steadily onwards every day, like the inevitable finger of doom. I don't know. But that being said, thanks so much for watching, and we will see all of you next time on the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.